£2.5 billion. That is how much money is sitting unclaimed by retired people in this country right now. Not theoretical money, not money that might exist if the rules change. Real money, already budgeted, already approved, already sitting in government accounts with a label on it that says it belongs to British pensioners, waiting for those pensioners to pick up the phone and ask for it. £2.5 billion every single year. And that figure covers just one of the 5 benefits we are about to go through. Here is the part that makes this urgent rather than merely interesting. Most of these benefits cannot be backdated more than a few months. Some cannot be backdated at all. That means every single week you go without claiming what you are entitled to is not a delay. It is a permanent loss. The money does not build up in a pile somewhere waiting for you to come and collect it. It disappears, gone for good. And nobody from the government is going to knock on your door and tell you about it, because the system does not work that way. It never has. I'm Elliot. Over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific benefits and entitlements that millions of retired people in the United Kingdom are not claiming right now. Every one of them is real. Every one of them is available today, and together they can be worth several £1,000s a year to an ordinary pensioner household. I will give you the exact eligibility rules, the exact phone numbers, the exact websites, and the precise order in which to claim them, because the order genuinely matters. By the end of this video, you will know exactly where you stand and exactly what to do about it. We start with pension credit, because pension credit is not just a benefit in its own right. It is the key that unlocks almost everything else. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember this. Claiming pension credit does not just top up your income. It opens the door to 5 or 6 other things, each of which is worth hundreds of pounds a year. Miss pension credit, and you miss the lot. That is why we start here. Pension credit is a means-tested top-up for people over state pension age whose income falls below a set threshold. For 2026 and 2027, that threshold is £227.10 a week for a single person, or £346.60 a week for a couple. If your total weekly income, from state pension, private pension, savings interest, and everything else combined, falls below that line, pension credit brings you up to it. If you have savings under £10,000, they are ignored completely. Savings above $10,000 are counted, but they do not automatically disqualify you. The calculation works on a sliding scale, not a cliff edge. According to the government's own figures, roughly 850,000 pensioner households who are entitled to pension credit are not claiming it. The average amount they are missing is around £2,600 a year, and that is before the gateway benefits are counted. Let me show you what those gateways look like in practice, because this is where the real numbers add up. If you receive pension credit, you automatically qualify for the winter fuel payment, which for 2025 and 2026 is £200 per household, or £300 if someone in the household is over 80. You qualify for a free television license if you are over 75, which saves you around £170 a year. You qualify for the Warm Home Discount, which knocks £150 off your electricity bill each winter. You qualify for maximum council tax reduction from your local authority, which, depending on where you live, can save you £1,000 to £2,000 a year. You qualify for free NHS dental treatment, free sight tests, and help with the cost of glasses. And in many areas, you qualify for additional local grants and hardship funds that are only available to people on qualifying benefits. Add all of that together, and a pensioner who is entitled to pension credit but not claiming it is not just losing £2,600 a year in the benefit itself. They are losing the total package, which can easily reach £4,000 to £5,000 a year, sometimes more, depending on their council tax band and their health. Now, here is the part that makes this genuinely urgent. Pension credit can only be backdated 3 months. That means if you should have been claiming it for the last 5 years, but you only apply today, the DWP will pay you for the last 3 months, and the rest is gone. permanently. Every single month you wait from this point forward is another month of money you will never see. There is no mechanism to recover it, and there is no appeal that will change that. The 3-month limit is absolute. Imagine a woman I will call Joan. She is 71, lives alone, gets the full new state pension of £241 a week, and has a small workplace pension of about £30 a week on top of that. Her total income is around £271 a week. She has never claimed pension credit because she assumed her state pension was too high to qualify. She is wrong. Once her housing costs are factored in, and once the severe disability addition is considered if she also has a health condition, Joan may well fall under the threshold. And even if she does not qualify for pension credit itself, the act of applying and being assessed can flag her eligibility for attendance allowance, which we are coming to next, and which changes the entire equation again. To check whether you qualify, call the Pension Credit Claim Line on 0800 99 1234. The line is open Monday to Friday, 8 in the morning to 6 in the evening, and the call is free. You can also apply online at gov.uk/pension-credit. The call takes about 20 minutes. The staff are trained specifically to help pension-age claimants, and there is no penalty or consequence if it turns out you do not qualify. You simply get told no, and that is the end of it. But if you do qualify, that single phone call can be worth thousands of pounds a year to you for the rest of your retirement. This is the one that consistently surprises people more than any other, because the name is misleading, and the eligibility is far wider than most pensioners imagine. Attendance allowance is a tax-free, non-means-tested benefit for people over state pension age who have a physical or mental health condition that affects their daily life. It pays £76.70 a week at the lower rate, or £114.60 a week at the higher rate. The higher rate works out at just under £6,000 a year, paid directly into your bank account, completely free of tax. Here is what catches people. You do not need to have a carer. You do not need to be housebound. You do not need to be severely disabled. The test is whether you reasonably need help with things like washing, dressing, getting in and out of bed, preparing meals, or staying safe. Whether or not you are actually receiving that help right now. If you have arthritis that makes it difficult to grip things in the kitchen, if you have a heart condition that means you get breathless climbing stairs, if you have diabetes that needs monitoring, if you have anxiety or depression that affects your ability to manage daily tasks, if you are living with the early stages of dementia, all of these can qualify. And crucially, your income and your savings make absolutely no difference whatsoever. You could have £100,000 in the bank and a private pension of $50,000 a year, and you would still be entitled to attendance allowance if your health condition meets the threshold. It is not means-tested at all. But attendance allowance does something else that most people are completely unaware of. The moment you start receiving it, it can change your pension credit calculation dramatically. Because attendance allowance income is completely ignored in the pension credit means test, and at the same time, receiving it can create an entitlement to what is called the severe disability addition inside pension credit, which for 2026 and 2027 is worth an extra £82.90 a week. That is over £4,300 a year on top of the attendance allowance itself. So a pensioner who claims attendance allowance at the higher rate and then has their pension credit recalculated can find their total income increasing by over £10,000 a year from 2 claims that together take less than an hour to make. Billions of pounds of attendance allowance go unclaimed every year, largely because pensioners assume the word attendance means someone has to be attending to them. It does not. It means you need attention, help, or supervision, whether you are currently getting it or not. You can claim by calling the Attendance Allowance Helpline or download the form from gov.uk. The form is long and detailed, and I strongly recommend getting help from Citizens Advice or Age UK to fill it in, because the way you describe your condition makes a real difference to whether the claim succeeds. Describe your worst days, not your best. Describe what you struggle with, not what you manage to push through. The assessors are looking for need, not for coping. Council tax is one of the biggest fixed bills in any pensioner's life, and it is also one of the most reducible, if you know what to ask for. Most pensioners do not. Every local authority in England, Scotland, and Wales runs its own council tax reduction scheme for pension-age residents. If you are on Pension Credit Guarantee credit, you will almost always qualify for a full reduction, meaning your council tax bill drops to zero. If your income is low but above the pension credit threshold, you may still qualify for a partial reduction. The rules vary by council, which is why most national guides gloss over this, but the principle is the same everywhere. You have to apply. It is never automatic. On top of the income-based reduction, there is a separate 25% discount for anyone who is the only adult living in their property. If you live alone, whether because your partner has died, because your children have moved out, or simply because that is how you live, you are entitled to that discount. Millions of pensioners who live alone are already receiving it, but a surprising number are not, simply because they never applied after their circumstances changed. There is also a lesser-known exemption that catches almost nobody's attention until someone tells them about it. If you or someone you live with has been diagnosed with a severe mental impairment, which in practice most commonly means dementia, but also covers other conditions, you may be entitled to a council tax disregard or even a full exemption. A person with a qualifying condition can be disregarded entirely for council tax purposes, which can mean the remaining occupant qualifies for the single-person discount, or, in some cases, the property becomes exempt altogether. This can be backdated, sometimes by years, and the refund can run into thousands of pounds. Contact your local council directly and ask about their council tax reduction scheme for pension-age residents, the single-person discount, and the severe mental impairment exemption. Have your pension credit or attendance allowance reference numbers ready if you have them, because they speed up the process considerably. This one is not technically a benefit. It is a tax relief, but it works exactly the same way in practice. Money back in your pocket that you are currently handing to HMRC for no reason. And it affects an enormous number of retired couples. Marriage allowance lets the lower earner in a married couple or civil partnership transfer £1,260 of their personal allowance to the higher earner. That transfer reduces the higher earner's tax bill by £252 a year. It is not a fortune on its own, but here is where it becomes significant. You can backdate the claim by up to 4 years. As of June 2026, that means you can claim back for the 2022/23 tax year through to the current year, a total of up to roughly £1,000 landing in your account in a single payment. And every year you do not claim, the oldest eligible year drops off permanently. The 2021/22 year fell out of the window on the 5th of April 2026. It is gone. If you wait another year, 2022/23 goes the same way. The clock is always ticking. To qualify, one of you needs to earn less than £12,570 a year, and the other needs to be a basic rate taxpayer. For many retired couples where one partner has only the state pension and the other has a small workplace pension on top, this fits perfectly. Around 4 million eligible couples have never claimed. You apply for free at gov.uk/marriage-allowance. It takes about 15 minutes. Do not use a paid claims company. They charge 30 to 40% of your refund for filling in a form you can do yourself in the time it takes to make a cup of tea. If one partner was born before the 6th of April 1935, you do not qualify for marriage allowance. But you may qualify instead for something called married couples allowance, which is actually more generous, worth between £453 and £1,170 a year in 2026/27. Check gov.uk or call HMRC. Find out which one applies to you. And one important note. If your husband or wife has died since April 2016, You can still claim marriage allowance for the years you were together, provided the conditions were met at the time. Call HMRC to make that claim. The money goes to the surviving partner. This is the one that ties back to the state pension itself, and it is the direct equivalent of checking whether the system has your earnings right, because if it does not, your pension is wrong, and nobody is going to tell you. Your state pension is calculated from your national insurance record, year by year, from the time you started working until pension age. If any year is missing, or recorded under the wrong name, or was never linked to your record in the first place, your pension comes out lower than it should. I covered this in depth in my last video, so I will not repeat the full breakdown here. But the headlines matter. The DWP's correction exercise has already identified over 130,000 pensioners who were underpaid, and paid back over £800 million. A second correction focused on mothers who claimed child benefit before the year 2000 and whose national insurance records were never properly updated with something called Home Responsibilities Protection, is still running now and is expected to continue through to at least March 2027. The government estimates that between 100,000 and 350,000 people may be affected, with average back payments in the region of £8,000. But you do not need to wait for the government to find you. You can check your own record today, right now, by going to gov.uk and signing in to your personal tax account. Look at the year-by-year breakdown. If you see gaps during years when you were at home raising children, or years when you know you were working but the record shows nothing, that is a flag. For the Home Responsibilities Protection issue specifically, go to gov.uk/home-responsibilities-protection-HRP and use the eligibility checker. It takes about 15 minutes, and if you qualify, you can submit the claim online or by post using a form called CF411. If you would rather speak to a person, call the HMRC National Insurance Helpline. And while you are checking your record, check your tax code as well. Millions of pensioners in this country are on the wrong tax code, often because an old employment record or an outdated benefit adjustment is still attached to their file. If your code is wrong, you may have been overpaying tax for years without realizing. HMRC sometimes sends out a P800 notice when it spots an overpayment, but it does not always catch them. Log into your personal tax account, look at the code, and if anything looks unfamiliar, call HMRC and ask them to explain it line by line. If they have overcharged you, you are owed a refund, and they will pay it. Before I let you go, I want to explain why the order in which you claim these things genuinely matters, because getting it right can be worth hundreds of pounds more than getting it wrong. Claim attendance allowance first, if you have any qualifying health condition. It is not means tested, so your income and savings are irrelevant. And once it is in payment, it changes your pension credit calculation in your favor. Claim pension credit second, because by then your attendance allowance will be on your record, and the severe disability addition will be factored in. That means a higher pension credit award and access to all the gateway benefits at once. Claim council tax reduction third, with your pension credit reference number in hand, because the council will process it faster and give you the maximum reduction straight away, rather than asking for weeks of additional evidence. Claim marriage allowance at any point, because it runs through the tax system rather than the benefits system and does not affect any of the above. But do not leave it sitting there unclaimed while the oldest year drops off the backdating window every April. And check your national insurance record and your tax code this week, because both of those checks are free, take less than half an hour, and can uncover money you have already been underpaid or overcharged. I want to be direct with you about something before we finish, because it is the part of this whole situation that frustrates me more than anything else. Every single one of the benefits and entitlements we have just discussed is published, documented, and publicly available on government websites. The phone numbers are real, the eligibility rules are written down, the application forms are free. None of this is hidden in the traditional sense, but it is hidden in every sense that actually matters to an ordinary retired person, because the system does not reach out. Pension credit does not arrive in your bank account because you turned 66. Attendance allowance does not land on your doormat because you mentioned your bad hip to the GP. Council tax reduction does not appear on your bill because you live alone now. Marriage allowance does not apply itself because HMRC can see you are married. Every single one of these requires you to know it exists, to understand that you qualify, and to pick up the phone or fill in the form yourself. And if you do not, the money simply stays where it is, unclaimed, unused, and eventually lost for good. That is why I made this video, and that is why I will keep making them. The rules are not complicated once somebody explains them in plain English. The phone calls are not difficult once you know which number to ring and what to say. The forms are not impossible once somebody sits next to you and helps you fill them in. And the money, in almost every case, is genuinely life-changing for a retired person living on a fixed income. If you are watching this and you are over state pension age, check every one of these 5 things this week. And if you have a parent, a grandparent, a widowed aunt, or an elderly neighbor who you suspect might be missing out, send them this video. Or better yet, sit down with them and help them make the calls. The system will not come to them, but you can. I'm Elliot. I sit down with the ordinary rules that govern how money is paid, taxed, and recovered in this country, and I explain them in plain English so that retired people can make sense of what is happening around them. Make the calls, check the records, and do not leave your money sitting in a government file with your name on it. I'll see you in the next video.